Hello and welcome to episode number 414 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show we take a look at the Platinum Jubilee aircraft. One airline buys some new stock, and it's chaos in the UK's airports again. In the military, Japan partners with BAe Systems to over Lockheed Martin, and the US Air Force's next generation fighter takes a step in the next direction, as seen in Top Gun Maverick. And a Marine pilot receives the Distinguished Flying Cross for his expert landing of an injured C-130 in a farmer's field. So joining me this week across the village, as always, in the PTUK studios, which I'm hoping, Matt, are a bit cooler this week.
No, I think is the short answer to that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you look at I've got a little weather station, a bit like what you've got at home. It reckons it's 31 degrees in my garden at the moment. I think there might be some sun on it. I'm not sure.
I was going to say 31.
It's not 31 degrees. It's warm, but it's not 31 degrees. That's
I was going to say, do you want this? Yeah. But it's empty.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. always a help, never a chore.
So you've had a very busy last 24 hours, haven't you, Matt?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been really good, really good. Been doing lots of radio bits and pieces this week, and as have we both. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Good to have you on board as always this week, Matt. So who we got on the show? We've got just briefly before we introduce our super sub guest host for this week. We have got Mr. Bounds here. He's joining us live. Not in the UK, not in the sprawling Buckinghamshire countryside this week, somewhere completely different. Mr. Bounds, where are you?
It's the Crown Plaza, Brussels Airport. A nice hotel, but a little bit of attitude from the restaurant staff, which I need to deal with, I think, later on. But
have they run out of caviar again?
Yeah, I know, it's disgusting, awful. But yeah, quite a week actually. Started off in Edinburgh on Monday. Flew back to Heathrow on Tuesday and then flew out to Brussels Airport on Tuesday afternoon. And I've been slightly further down the country ever since. I'm flying back tomorrow morning. I was trying to get back tonight, but a couple of cancelled flights some weeks ago, unfortunately. So we're on an A321neo tomorrow, which is quite a large aircraft for such a short sector. So I suggest they've probably combined a couple of flights to jam us all on there.
Right.
But, yeah,
I mean, as long as you got seat 1A though, right? I mean,
I have absolutely.
Yay!
Yeah. So, but no, it's been a hectic week. A big conference I was involved with this week, and yeah, quite pleased to be going home. I must say.
Wow.
So you've been doing lots of flying then, Nev. I take it it's obviously it's all been BA, but I'm guessing it's all been on the 320s.
320 coming out, 319 to Brussels, and then 321neo tomorrow. Edinburgh was not a great experience, although it didn't affect me because I was already there. But the check-in going into Edinburgh was not at all funny. And for those who know Edinburgh Airport, it was actually queuing all the way outside and round the block. That was pretty horrific. But once you got through security, it was all right. But it's just the time it's taking people to get through, unfortunately. But of course, this is before the real summer rush as well, so we can only hope that things improve a little bit before then. But I think we might be in for this for a few months more yet. Brussels was okay the other day because I came in quite late on in the afternoon, but we'll have to see how we get on tomorrow morning. So, yeah, wow. So I'll just pop in and say hello because I'm going to bed very shortly myself because I've got a very early start in the morning.
Oh no, where are you off to? Where are you off to tomorrow?
Back home.
Oh, hooray!
Which will be. I couldn't get home tonight, so yes, I should be going home for the weekend and back up to Edinburgh on Wednesday.
But, oh my goodness!
Yeah,
a
nice couple of days off.
Doesn't stop, does he? Honestly, he'll be Platinum Jubilee status soon with BAe. Literally.
Did they do a Platinum Jubes card?
See what he did there.
And Joining us this evening, we have got a super sub. As we've only got Nev for a very short time, and Armando couldn't be with us. We've got a super sub. He's back with us again. We couldn't let him escape us any longer, so we thought we'd have him back. Welcome back onto the show. It's of course our A320 and Airbus captain. It's Andy.
Hello, and as always, you never pay the invoice when I send it over. I'm glad to be back.
There's a good reason for that.
Nice to be on the show. And unlike Nev, I've done very little flying the past week. Somehow I managed to get half term off.
Wow.
It's been nice spending time at home with the family, but opposite for me, tomorrow morning it's back to work at 6 a.m. Mainly flying into Italy this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's always chaos in Italy as it is anyway, so I can't wait to see how chaotic it is at the moment with everything that's going on.
I bet you can't wait to get back to work after seeing the events of this week in the airports, eh?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure there's plenty in the news this week anyway that we'll be talking about.
Yes, it certainly is.
But it's lovely to be back on, and thanks for calling us up. I love being the super sub.
Absolutely.
Oh, good. It's good to have you back on, Andy. So we better say a quick. We've actually got a video, haven't we, Matt? Actually, from Armando.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Have we?
The post-flight debrief from Play.
Oh, okay. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute then.
Oh, as professional as always, I love this show.
If not, we can always do the Patreon. Isn't it?
Yeah. Let's do the Patreon while I work out.
We'll do the Patreon. So it is the top of the month, as it is. Well, it is the 3rd of June today. The 1st or 3rd of June. It's honestly, this year is flying by. It'll soon be time for me and Nev to head off to the Jersey Air Show in September at this rate. So we're going to say a big thanks to everyone who has donated this month through Patreon and PayPal. And we'll start at the top of the list here. We'll go with Alex Robinson. Thank you to you. Dirk S. Sasha Beer. Stephen Ivey. Nicholas Codling. Louis Perez. Alan White. Stephen Howland. Tanya Wyman. Megan Carrion. Jacob Darlington Brown. Nicholas Hewitt. Masha. Mr. Owen. He's also a good donor. Well, thank you, Owen. Ruben Wells, Neil Lamworn, Graham Haley, Jonathan Warner, Eric Graves, Jordan Rose, Andrew Wilson, Captain Jeff, Adam Spink, Liz Piper, Jeff Ward, Jenny in Rome, Evan Shue, Philip Labe, Short Bakker, Ray Williams, and Stephanie Plummer. Thanks to all you for donating through the Patreon means. And our awesome PayPal donators for this month are Richard Adams, Craig Urosco, Tony Stubbings, and Mazouz Karim. Thank you very, very much to everyone who helped support the show. It honestly, guys, it does really, really help support the show in a massive, massive way. With all the web support, hosting, and all the stuff and all the tech stuff that Matt screams out at me every now and again and says, "I need a new something.
This is broken. We need to change this.
This
Absolutely.
is worn out. We need a new one."
Well, the good news is the video you mentioned a moment ago, that's now ready.
Okay, brilliant. But no, if you want to become a patron of the show or a PayPal donor of the show, all the links are on our website and details on that at the end of the show. So, Matt, you've got a video to play.
Indeed, yes.
Hey, everybody. Here I am in Reno, Nevada. It is once again time for Pylon Racing Seminar, and that is the precursor to the National Championship Air Races in September. So I'll be working here all week, as I do every year. And of course, as I do every year, I'm going to try to get some really good content. I can't wait to talk to some of the new pilots, some of the pilots that have been here before, some of the ground support personnel, because everybody's aviation journey here that leads them to Reno is such an amazing journey, and each one of them has such a great story to tell. So look for that in the next coming weeks. I know we did a little bit of a wrap-up already from my trip over to England. At this point, I wanted to give a special thanks to Matt, because Matt drove all the way from Bungay to Stansted twice when he picked me up when I arrived in the UK, and also picked me up from Cambridge to take me to Stansted the morning of, as I tried to figure out COVID requirements trying to come back into the States. But thanks, Matt. It's always great to see you. It's always great to see anybody from the podcast team because we don't get to see each other very often, at least not in person. Another little bit of a debrief from Play Airlines. What a fantastic product. The flight over there was, the first leg was so-so. The second leg was great. Both legs back from Stansted to Reykjavik to Baltimore. Nothing short of just a great product. Special shout out to the flight crew. The cabin crew in the back was great to talk to. They had nothing but good things to say about their airline, and I know they both of the cabin crew that I was talking to came from WOW. They were previous wowers, as they call them, and came over to Play, and they had just great things to say about management, about the training program, about the equipment, about their schedules, and how the cabin crew is actually listened to by management as far as an improvement process. So I had a really, really good time talking to both of those young individuals, and they seemed to enjoy what they were doing. And Play, well done, because it was the end of May. Iceland couldn't have been any more beautiful, and absolutely convinced me. As soon as I got on the ground in Reykjavik for the connection, I called Megan and I said, I think we have to come to Iceland. It's such a beautiful place, such beautiful people, and they seem so friendly and so open to showing off what they have up there in their country. And I fell for it, and I told Megan that in 2023 we're taking a trip to Iceland, even if it's a short trip. So well done, Play Air, or Play Airlines. And we're going to have some military stories here in the next couple minutes, and we will look forward to some content from Reno.
There we go.
Honestly, if it's not a fantastic location or a backdrop, Armando just like there's. I just want to just live his life for like a week.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
The boy just lives a rock star lifestyle, does our Armando.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to, because I mean, he also must spend most of his entire. Mind you, I'm talking to Andy here. This is a risky game, but he must be absolutely exhausted most of the time.
That's the price you've got to pay.
Yeah, true, for living the dream, as it were. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, we better get going, haven't we?
Yes, we're going to quickly go through the chat room. Just thank everyone for joining us in the YouTube chat room this week. Going to run down the list quickly. Captain Cruz, hello to you. Richard Adams. We've got Sturman. Hello to you, Sturman. We've got Mazouz Kareem. Hello to you, Mazouz. Good to see you in there. Dirk S. We scroll down. Alan White, hello to you. Rick Bell has obviously been in there as well. Hello to Masha at GB's Model Zone. Stephen Ivy's also in there tonight. Hello, Stephen. Andy Wilson, hello to you, Andy. We've got, scroll down, make sure I don't miss anyone out. Richard Adams, I said, didn't I? Have we got some blue spanners of doom? Oh, we have got.
Always.
I think Neville was wielding a blue spanner in there, at some point. So thank you to one and all for joining us this evening in there. Don't forget, if you're listening to the audio podcast, take yourselves over to YouTube, search for us, Plain Talking UK, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon next door to be notified when we are live and recording new episodes like this, because we'd love to have you in the family's chat room. So, Matt, loads to get through. So, shall we do some commercial news?
Yeah, absolutely.
With a little bit of a Platinum Jubilee beginning.
Oh, really? Ooh.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
So, first story this week, this is all regarding the Platinum Jubilee Flypast and comes to us from simpleflying.com and military-airshows.co.uk. And a spectacular flypast by over 70 aircraft was enjoyed by millions in London yesterday. as part of the Queen Elizabeth's Platinum celebration, marking 70 years of her reign. The event saw Britain's newest F-35 military jets join historic Spitfires before flying over Buckingham Palace. The Flypast watched by the royal family and millions from home. And while this spectacle may have appeared easy, it was a culmination of weeks of planning and rehearsals. So just how hard is it to organise a 70 aircraft flyover through central London? So to begin with, the UK's National Air Traffic Services, or NATS, had to establish where the aircraft would be and on what time. Once it had established that, NATS put in place the relevant temporary operating procedures which controllers use to keep civil aircraft at a safe distance while also minimising disruption. The Royal Air Force also requested that the UK Civil Aviation Authority put in place airspace restrictions that prevent aircraft from flying into certain airspace without prior permission. The Flypast travelled through some normally bustling airspace, both London Heathrow and London City Airport, and they had to pause their air traffic movements for a few minutes. Around a third of the aircraft actually flew over the Heathrow as part of their dispersal route, a possible silver lining for the thousands of travellers caught up in the UK's travel chaos over the Platinum weekend. The aircraft first gathered over the North Sea before flying southeast towards central London. The aircraft flew over Buckingham Palace at a height of around 1,000 feet and 1,400 feet. London terminal controllers were sitting alongside military operators for direct coordination purposes, and as soon as the Flypast had finished, the controllers restarted normal operations again. So far, 2022 has been a busy year for UK flyovers, and so far this year, there's been an RAF memorial flight at Runnymede, one over Downing Street in honour of the visiting Japanese PM, and yesterday's event. However, NATS are also involved in planning a flypast of the MAL on the 5th of June to celebrate the big Jubilee launch, and another later in June over Trafalgar Square in support of London Pride. So 70 aircraft taking part in the Jubilee flypast yesterday. We had the Wildcats HMA2s, two of the Merlin, the Wildcats AH1s, 3 Apaches, Wildcats AH1, so 3 Merlins, HC4s, 3 Pumas, 3 Chinooks, the BBMF Lancaster, which flew over me yesterday here on my picture here behind me, 2 Spitfires, the Phenom, 4 Texans, 3 Herculeses, an A400 Atlas, a C-17 Globemaster 3, the Poseidon, a rivet joint, the Voyager, and 2 Typhoons, and 4 F-35B Lightnings, and 4 Hawk T2s, 15 Typhoons, and the Red Arrows 9 Hawk T1s all took part in the display. And I was lucky enough yesterday, as Matt knows and the team knows, that we had the Lancaster fly directly overhead of our house here in Bungay, Suffolk, and literally flew right over the house here.
I was absolutely gutted because I was on the radio when we had a Spitfire come over today, and I was on the radio, and it's like I couldn't even get like a phone out to like take a photo of it because I was right in the middle of the link.
I want to say a big thanks to Mr. Warner, Jonathan Warner, because he messaged me to alert me to the fact that the Lancaster was en route to our neck of the woods. So I grabbed the camera, got the big lens out, got the step ladders out in the garden, climbed to the top, and honestly, you heard it before it got here. It's,
I
it is
bet.
one hell of a sound.
Beautiful sound.
It is.
Yeah.
Can't beat it, can you? It's an awesome number.
A great sight indeed.
Absolutely. Okay, we've been told we've got to keep it a bit pacey today.
I know,
haven't
we're
we?
pacey.
Yeah, absolutely. Busy
So,
old show, apparently.
It is a busy show. So it's the next story is on Euronews.com. This is a commercial news story from this week's news, and it's also on inews.co.uk. And as is all seen on the news this week, it has been absolute chaos here in the UK's airports. Disruption and chaos. And there's the words here on these headlines. It's been a week of travel chaos with passengers who were due to depart from various airports around the UK and Ireland, Netherlands, and further afield, sharing stories of cancelled honeymoons, missed events, and holidays gone wrong. Put simply, the aviation sector is experiencing high volumes of passengers, and pandemic-driven cuts in staff have resulted in biblical queues and absolute carnage. a far cry from the queue-loving stereotypes many people have of the British people. I can't stand queues. Speaking to the Times, a government source also blamed the aviation sector. He said the simple fact is that airlines and airports overcut staff during the pandemic. The source added that the surge in bookings after COVID pandemic was wholly foreseeable, and customers are now facing huge frustration. Although airports have been recruiting new staff, the new team members requiring training and lengthy security vetting before they're allowed to start, which can take months. Also, they said, The Guardian said that some people in the industry feel the current travel boom might be a summer bubble, and demand for flights could fade this autumn as the cost of living crisis and rising energy prices squeeze consumer spending. Recruitment drives are lagging, stemmed by lengthy security checks and unattractive working conditions. Air Council International, Europe's trade body for airports, have predicted that delays are inevitable at 2/3 of UK's and Europe's airports this summer. Schiphol is suffering from critical staff shortages last month, and Schiphol requested that KLM cancel or redirect hundreds of flights to ease the pressure on the airport. And also, workers at Schiphol are threatening to strike, a warning it will be a hot summer unless job permanency and pay rights improve. At Dublin Airport, more than 1,000 people missed their flights while waiting in long lines to even enter the airport building. Security cited 17 absences in security staff as a contributing factor. Ryanair said from its customer base alone, there were over 1,500 people missing flights. Visitors to Manchester Airport have waited up to 7 hours in winding queues, and TUI announced on Tuesday this week that nearly 400 flights would be axed before the end of June, impacting 34,000 travellers. Ow. It's.
I mean, there's a very amusing little meme here, as I say, because one of the things is, isn't it? I mean, obviously we're thinking cabin crew and all that kind of thing, but a lot of the problems actually is more the ground stuff, isn't it? Things like the ancillary bits and pieces is the reason why these flights are being delayed and stuff. As I mean, when we were talking before the show, I mean, Andy, you were saying that, like, sort of for a lot of the airlines, it's not the glamorous industry that everybody thinks it is.
No, and let's start at the beginning of this. What is it? The government source. Well, I also believe that Grant Shapps himself has come out and tried to blame everybody other than the government, which doesn't help because they give zero help to the aviation industry. So even though people were furloughed, you know, they were still going to cut back, and they cut back hard and too deep, in my opinion, in every part of it, from ground handling to cabin crew, and some airlines, pilots, and others like Virgin took a real big hit. And now seeing that the bookings were wholly foreseeable, well, yes, that's true, but we still didn't know what we were going to be able to fly, because it was coming and going in waves that we could fly, we couldn't fly, we could fly, countries open, countries closed. It's an absolute mess. And then you also get onto recruiting new staff. The training doesn't take that long for ground handling, that sort of thing, but the security vetting, massive issues there, because again, DFT don't have the staff to deal with it, so the government could help out there. So, you know, it's just this whole chain of events that's got us to this point where we're now seeing, before we even hit the proper summer, huge queues, 7 hours long at Manchester. I mean, how can you turn up for a flight with a young family, you know, a flight at 6 a.m. and think, oh, well, I need to start queuing at 10 p.m. It doesn't work. So there's a lot of work to do. I think there's still a bit more angst to come before it starts to get better, but hopefully it will start to get better soon.
Indeed. It's I mean, this is a meme, kind of made me amused. It said if we got Aldi staff to do security at the airport, everyone would be through in 2 minutes. I think there's a lot to be said for that.
It would be. You'd be picking up your bags from halfway down the hall, the speed that you put that shopping through.
I mean, details. I mean, it's just sort of like all that kind of thing. But I think you're onto a bit of a point there, though. Really, when you were saying sort of like, I suppose and I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit here. But like in terms of like you say, like going in sort of hard and deep as far as like the furloughing and like laying off staff and stuff is concerned. I mean, everybody sort of held their nerve for about sort of 3 or 4 months really before it started big time. But in some respects, I almost don't blame the airlines, because it's like when it became clear that there was no obvious. Either this wasn't. I mean, after 3 or 4 months, I remember having a conversation with my mum, literally saying, "This isn't going to be fixed very quickly. I'm going to be off work for a long time." You know? I mean, and the coach industry that I was working in at the time, they had a similar problem. I mean, no help from the government was available for the travel industry in general. And so, like, you know, the industry I worked as a coach driver, you know, suddenly overnight nobody wanted to go to London anymore.
And every industry was hemorrhaging ridiculous amounts of money per day. And the aviation sector, with the cost of aircraft leasing, parking the things,
absolutely,
none of it's cheap. It was running into millions a day that was just going down the pan with no help. And unfortunately, they got the point management where they had to start doing something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing as well, as we talked about before we started this off, if you were a ground handler and you got cut, then you went off and found a job. And aviation is not a socially acceptable job for having a life outside of work. You know, they've gone off and found jobs working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday for the same money or more. Why would you come back?
Yeah, indeed. And it's definitely an industry that you know, everybody needs to know. Like, you know, it's like if you've got a family, for example, I mean, that's a hard thing for them to deal with, isn't it? Because you're away from home for long periods of time. It takes, I mean, I seem to remember from conversations we've had, Andy, for example, you had 2 nights where you should have been home and couldn't because of like medical emergencies or problems. I mean, it's such a volatile thing. I mean, you've really got to have an understanding partner, haven't you, if you want to be in the aviation industry?
Yeah. I'm a lucky man. I do have a very, very understanding wife.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, we could talk about this more and more, but we better move on.
Matt, you've got the next story, and it looks like Norwegian have come into some money.
Indeed. The headline from aerotime.aero is Norwegian Air Shuttle recommits to acquire 50 Boeing 737 Maxes by 2028. Norway's largest airline, Norwegian Air Shuttle, aims to expand its fleet with at least 50 Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft, MAX aircraft by 2028. On the 30th of May 2022, Norwegian reached an agreement in principle with Boeing to acquire 50 of said aircraft for options of additional 30 aircraft if they wanted. Norwegian's recommitment to the Boeing 737 MAX comes after it had previously threatened to cancel a previous order for 92 of the aircraft type in June 2020 amid the global grounding of the pandemic of the aircraft model, not because of the pandemic, although obviously we then had a pandemic in between. However, the move never materialized. A month later, it even filed a lawsuit in which it accused Boeing of breaching its contract over the way the manufacturer handled the production and delivery of its aircraft. The Norwegian low-cost carrier said that the new planes will be delivered between 2025 and 2028, and that delivery schedule coincided with the expiration of current leases. The airline estimates that the following agreement will be in place with the manufacturer, and it could boost its equity by booking a net gain of up to $202 million, which is just crazy, isn't it? The airline intends to finance the outstanding balance of the pre-delivery payments through positive cash flow from operating activities. The Norwegian Air Shuttle statement said a significant share of the aircraft will be owned by the company, ensuring an optimized and balanced aircraft financing structure. The agreement in principle with Boeing should be concluded by the end of June 2022, according to the statement. I mean, that's a big. I think it's a big tick, isn't it, really, for the Max, which I know is
plenty of these laying around.
Well, yes, I suppose there
is.
As has
been pointed out in the chat room, there's plenty of aircraft laying around waiting.
And they chopped their fleet from 140 to 53 when they paid back and got rid of all the Dreamliners.
Yeah,
they expanded too rapidly last time. Is history going to repeat? Who knows?
Have they learnt lessons?
Well, that's the big thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
indeed.
I mean, previously they had a UK operation, a Swedish operation, an Argentinian one for a while as well.
Yeah.
They spread out. They spread themselves quite thin and didn't make any money.
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing to do if you run an airline.
No. It's an expensive hobby that way, isn't it?
It is an expensive hobby.
Aviation is a very expensive hobby. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah.
Going to say a quick hello to Jonathan Warner. He's just joined us in the chat room. Hello to you, Mr. Warner.
Very
you in
good.
there.
Very good.
Andy, you've got the next story, and we had some sad news this week.
Yes, unfortunately. Nepal to tighten its aviation regulations in the wake of a deadly crash. Now, this has come from several resources, the BBC, Flight Radar, aeroinside.com. On May the 29th, Tara Air de Havilland DHC-6300 Twin Otter, registration 9 November Alpha Echo Tango, performing a flight from Pokhara to Jomsom in Nepal with 19 passengers and 3 crew, was en route at 13,000 feet, about 16 nautical miles south of Jomsom, about to enter the valley for the approach into Jomsom near Leti Pass when the aircraft disappeared from radar. A search including 2 helicopters was underway but was hampered by poor visibility in the area where the aircraft was assumed to have crashed. The aircraft was found at the Sanosware Cliff, 7 nautical miles southwest of Jomsom the following morning, but rescuers found, sadly, no survivors. On May the 31st, the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, so we call him CAN, reported that the cockpit voice recorder was found and recovered from the crash site. A full investigation of the crash is underway, but a preliminary inquiry suggested that bad weather caused the incident. The airline reported before departure of the weather conditions were checked, and it was known that Leti Pass was covered with clouds. 2 aircraft were scheduled to fly in. The flights planned to depart at 6:15, but departed late at 9:55 after the weather had improved. The other aircraft flew 3 minutes ahead of the crashed aircraft and arrived safely in Jomsom. CAN introduced on Tuesday new regulations mandating that all flights flown under VFR, so that's Visual Flight Rules, can only be flown after the aircraft operator submits a flight plan with weather information for the destination and the entire route of the flight. Providing en route weather information was previously not mandatory. CAN's notification said that the pilot in command will no longer decide on the feasibility of flights, and the decision to fly regarding the weather will be made by the airport. That's an interesting one. Aircraft operators have raised concerns about how to implement the new regulations, citing the country's limited weather forecasting infrastructure. And there's a quote here from a spokesperson of the Airline Operators Association of Nepal that says, though the decision is essential and plays a vital role in flight safety, we're confused on how to implement it as there is no clear way to get the en route weather information for domestic flights. So that's interesting. They're trying to put a stick and plaster on something.
Yeah. Yeah, it does sound like that. Now, interestingly enough, John has sort of put forward some of his own opinions, I should say here, and he's just saying a comment on this from him personally. I think what it's saying is that the PIC will not be deciding on the feasibility of the flight mid-flight, although that's going to continue anyways because of how could it not, basically. But the CAN will make the PIC decide that weather is or is not a factor at the airport. There's a lot of media quoting the CAN publication as saying that it gives the airport the authority and not the PIC. However, I can't find any primary source to confirm this, and this possibly could be a translation error. The publication has not been officially released in English, which I think is a very important bit of information there, actually. So,
do you think this was CFIT, Andy?
Oh, 100%. I saw the pictures of the crash site, and yeah, it's flown straight at the side of a hill. Very sad. Yeah. But you can never take away the pilot in command. He's the commander of the aircraft. In flight, you can't make decisions for them. This is sort of turned into sort of a pseudo IFR or a special VFR flight, where obviously if the weather's not good enough at either end, then they just refuse to accept the flight plan and say you can't fly. Which I can sort of understand, but it's the pilot in command is supposed to be, he's there for a reason. He's proved that he can command an aircraft, he or she, or they, and that they have the prerequisite skills and experience to do this. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, if it's something that stops accidents in that area, then okay, maybe it's a good thing. But again, very interesting way of doing it.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's a fair comment. Yeah, it's a tricky situation, and I guess time will tell on this one.
Yeah,
challenging areas to fly in. They are
very.
Yeah.
Mountainous terrain requires a lot of special training anyway.
I can imagine.
So the next story, and a completely different end of the scale. This comes to us from Virgin.com, Aerotime.aero, The Guardian, News Hub, and CNTraveler.com. And the headline, Virgin Atlantic relaxes tattoo policy for employees. Oh, my word. So Virgin Atlantic will now allow cabin crew to display tattoos on their arms, becoming the first British airline to relax restrictions on visible body art. Until this week, any ununiformed Virgin Atlantic employee had to make sure their tattoos were covered. But now employees can show off their ink to the world while still representing Virgin Atlantic in their uniform. Virgin Atlantic said that that face and neck and head inkings must remain covered for the time being. However, the airline said it hopes to change this policy in the near future. Offensive tattoos, for example, if they depict nudity, violence, or drugs, or alcohol, or profanities, are still required to be covered up. Also, prison-style knuckle tattoos will also remain prohibited. Estelle Hollingsworth, Chief People Officer at Virgin Atlantic, commented that at Virgin Atlantic, we want everyone to be themselves and know that they belong. Many people use tattoos to express their unique identities, and customer-facing and uniform colleagues should not be excluded from doing so if they choose. That's why, in line with our focus on inclusion and championing individuality, we are relaxing our tattoo restrictions for all of our people. We're proud to be the airline that sees the world differently and allows our people to be truly themselves. In 2019, Virgin Atlantic dropped its makeup rule for cabin crew members, again becoming one of the first main airlines in the country to do so. 2019 saw Air New Zealand drop their policy regarding visible non-offensive tattoos, and in August of 2021, United updated their policy to allow crew and to have visible tattoos with the proviso that they may be the size of the employee's work badge or smaller. So what do we think? I personally don't have any tattoos. Andy, have you got any?
No, I'm not a tattoo man. I'm frightened of a small pinprick from a needle, let alone spending 6 hours
and hours. Yeah,
it's not for me. But my wife's got tattoos, and no problem. I don't see any issue with it at all.
I think that's. I mean, I'm sort of a little bit on the fence on this one. I've never personally been a fan of tattoos. I have to say, the older I've got, the more I've warmed to them. If you see what I mean, I was sort of quite anti when I was younger, and I suppose I've got two schools of thought in my head personally. Is like, on the one hand, you should absolutely not be restricting people to express themselves in the way that they wish to. So I guess that's sort of the end of the argument for me. Really, I can't really have that opinion and then be complaining because people are showing off their tattoos. I suppose, isn't it? I don't know. I suppose my concern, and I think they've tried to address that, haven't they? With the anything that's vaguely offensive, obviously must still remain covered up. For example, I guess that would be my only sort of cravat to that, is that they need to be tasteful and not sort of like the old sailor tattoos and things like that.
Some very interesting and comical comments in the chat room this evening regarding this story. We'll start with Dirk S., who's saying, so Virgin Atlantic planes can now spontaneously take part in air tattoos.
I see what he did there. Yes.
Main man Micah says, Virgin Atlantic at Riyadh. That'd be quite to see. Masha is saying, actually, that her mum was 74 when she got her first tattoo.
Love that.
It's never too late.
Absolutely. No, wow. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
That is good.
Now, the ultimate question for me is, would I rather get a tattoo or would I rather do a skydive? I wonder which one I would prefer.
Skydive every day.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, Micah, there's a point you can let people express themselves to. I don't want to see people. I don't want to work. In fact, I'm going to come to work in uniform. All right, just going on what your comments are saying in there.
Yeah. Indeed. I'm being told off by producer John, who's supposed to be sleeping, by the way, but he's obviously listening.
Oh, really?
Well, no, because I said the word cravat. That's not the right.
Right.
It's not the right word, is it? That's not the word I was looking. What word was I looking for?
Before we move on, obviously, Andy.
I didn't mean
our,
a tie before anyone asks.
Andy being our resident pilot on the show this evening. Do you like your uniform that you wear for your particular airline, Andy?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a bog standard shirt and trousers and tie. The material could be better. That's about it, really.
Is it the old plastic polyester?
The shirts have got better. The shirts have actually got a percentage of cotton in them now, I believe.
2%.
Oh, a percentage. Right.
A percentage, yes.
Got a number in it, yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's okay. I mean, it survives. You can tell it's indestructible. I've had the same jacket for the past 5 years, and it still looks fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose there is that. Yes, it's a bit harder wearing if it's not actually. But yeah, absolutely.
So Matt, you've got.
Yeah. Sorry. Just last comment on this, if I may. Matt, I'm Matt. Sorry, Mark has been in touch via the WhatsApp number +44 757 224 9166, saying I would say that standards are standards, but we are in changing times.
Yes.
Very good point. It is a very good point. Absolutely. Okay,
so, Matt,
sorry
you've
to
got
interrupt.
you got the next story, and a pilot's been fired.
Oh, I see. Oh, yes.
Literally.
This is not good, is it? Really? Okay, this is from several sources here: aviationpros.com, GateChecks, Traveller.com, Live and Let's Fly.
I'm going to go and get a beer while you're
that.
reading all the links.
Yeah, okay. And many other services. I'll make sure that all the details are in the show notes. ITA pilot fired after allegedly sleeping during a long-haul flight. The captain of a long-haul flight between New York and Rome was fired after accusations that he fell asleep and was unavailable while flying over France on the 1st of May. ITA Airways confirmed on Tuesday that the pilot, who denies the incident, was dismissed but stressed that passengers were not in danger at any time. The incident occurred on the 1st of May 2022 on board ITA Airways flight Alpha Zulu 609 and on an A330-200 from JFK to Rome. According to the story published by Italian newspaper Repubblica, both pilots were simultaneously sleeping for a period of at least 10 minutes while they were flying through French airspace. Reports indicate that the first officer was sleeping under a procedure known as controlled rest. This is a fatigue mitigation strategy that at ITA allows one pilot to rest for up to 40 minutes in the flight deck. During this time, the other pilot is meant to remain alert and monitoring radios and other aircraft systems. As the A330 passed from Bordeaux Air Traffic Control to Marseille, controllers stationed in Marseille repeatedly tried to contact the aircraft. French air authorities contacted their Italian counterparts, who then contacted ITA Airways Central Command. ITA Airways Central Command attempted to contact the pilots directly, first via satellite phone and then through ACAS. Republica reports that French authorities prepared to scramble 2 fighter jets to intercept the aircraft. However, ATC re-established contact with the pilots 10 minutes after their initial contact efforts. The captain claims that the reports of both crew members falling asleep were false and that there was a failure with the aircraft's radio system. An inspection carried out by ITA engineers suggested otherwise, as they found no fault with the equipment. An ITA spokesperson told the Telegraph that the flight was on autopilot, flying at normal speed and altitude, and never detoured from its route. Passenger safety was never compromised. It's an interesting note to what the company said about the firing, which may or may not be of interest. This investigation led to the identification of a behaviour of the captain that did not comply with the procedures in force during both the flight and once landed, i.e. a professional conduct that was not consistent with the behavioural and working rules dictated by the company, which the staff is required to follow strictly. And above all of strong inconsistencies between the statements made by the captain and the outcome of the internal investigations. In light of this, the company has adopted a disciplinary measure that has led to the immediate removal of the resource from the ITA Airways workforce, as the relationship of trust in the working environment has been broken.
I think this is the camel that broke the straw. The straw that broke
the camel's back. Absolutely. I mean, they've gone to great lengths here to sort of stress that no harm came to anyone. Essentially, the aircraft was on autopilot and all that kind of thing. But I'm just trying to think of it from an air traffic controller point of view. That 10 minutes must have felt like a lifetime.
Yeah, 10 minutes is a long time to be out of contact with someone.
Yeah. Especially when you're living now. Yeah, and you're sort of handing over from one tower to another, basically.
One area controller to another. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I can only imagine what on earth what must have been going on. Well, in both towers, I suppose, isn't it? Because they contacted the other tower, the ITA and stuff. They're not responding to the sat. That's the bit that worried me. Really, is it's like, it doesn't indicate. I mean, perhaps we're missing some data here, but they're saying it was, that the sat phone basically was rang and they still didn't respond initially.
Yeah, well, looking at this, the first officer was having his controlled rest, which is correct. It is a procedure in airlines. It varies how many minutes you can have a sleep, and then you also have to inform the cabin crew so that there's two-way communication between the flight deck every X amount of minutes.
Right.
And it also depends how many crew they were carrying as well. In this case, I'm thinking on that sort of flight that they were only carrying 2 pilots, so there wasn't a third in a rest bunk, if it even has it on that aircraft. I don't know. And it looks like when you do controlled rest, you have to have. You can't just turn around. I couldn't turn around to the first officer and go, right, I'm going to sleep now. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that they are in a position where they're not going to fall asleep themselves.
Yes.
So if they don't feel comfortable with it, then if I haven't been an overbearing, horrible captain all day, they're going to turn around to me and say, Andy, I'd rather you didn't because I'm feeling a bit tired myself.
Yeah.
So, right, okay, let's sort out some coffee. Let's get ourselves back in the game here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But the captain obviously said, yeah, I'll do it. And he has clearly fallen asleep as well.
Yeah.
The problem here is that his report into the incident clearly doesn't match with what actually occurred. And that's where the issues come in. I've seen this many times before with many incidents where you think, well, it's not that big a thing. Why have they been sacked? And then, they did this a few months ago. They did this last year. It's all just a pile of
final straw stuff, like you said earlier, wasn't it? Yeah. Now, actually, John's been doing a bit of digging as well, which it was just fascinating. And he stumbled across like the favourite things about this story for him are the headlines here. And he was saying that ABC 11 said pilots reportedly fall asleep on international flights. Business Insider said pilot fired after he fell asleep and triggered terror alert. I mean, that's a slight over exaggeration, isn't it? News Beezer said when the pilot of the passenger plane fell asleep, the alarm went off. His apology made him say, "Give up."
Okay. What does that even mean?
I have no idea. Italy latest news said ITA pilot fired for alleged sleepiness.
Oh, sleepiness.
Sleepiness, I think that's lovely. Youthistan.com, whatever. That's. I'll be looking that one up later. Strange. The pilot started sleeping as soon as he took off the plane. The government understood that the plane was a hijack. And finally,
great grammar.
So he's already been asleep for 8 hours as well across the Atlantic.
Of course.
He should be feeling really fresh.
Yes, absolutely. He should have been wide awake, shouldn't he, really? Airways magazine, who I think, as John pointed out, who should probably know better out of all of these to put to put out this kind of headline. Both pilots flew the Airbus A330 asleep.
Now that is some skill to be able to fly asleep. Yeah,
absolutely.
How can you fly an aircraft asleep?
Well, exactly.
You can't.
Anyway.
Mind waves?
I don't know. It is an Airbus.
Dear.
That won't be long, no doubt. Joysticks will be a thing of the past.
Exactly. And good segue there, Matt, to the next story.
I know, it's like I'm reading the show notes. It's amazing.
Andy, you've got the next story, and this is something that I've been looking into in regards to my home sim.
Well, this is something I'm currently working on at work as well. But this is CAE puts VR to work in pilot training, and this is from ainonline.com. Simulator manufacturer and training provider CAE is targeting virtual and mixed reality, so VR and MR technology for new training platforms, including its latest Sprint VR trainer. The device includes physical stick, throttle, and rudder controls, CAE's medallion image generator, a VR headset, and a haptic feedback for actuation of instrument panel equipment. Sprint stands for Self-Paced Real-Time Insights for Next Generation Training. That really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? And it's designed to allow students to practice flying using a virtual coach and CAE's RISE performance grading and assessment tools. The students can use the Sprint trainer to practice training tasks, procedures, and maneuvers in an affordable, high-fidelity, immersive environment to master lessons at their own pace, according to CAE. For military customers, CAE's mission-augmented virtual reality rear crew trainer, or Maverick, as they're calling it, goes a step further with mixed reality technology employed in a physical replica of an aircraft fuselage. Designed to provide a realistic training environment for aircrew working in a helicopter's cabin, the Maverick allows crew to work together in a simulated outside environment that is presented on their helmet-mounted displays. The device includes working doors, a fully functional ramp, flat and bubble windows, and cabin displays. Training scenarios that can be replicated, including medical evacuations, search and rescue, surveillance, door gunner, and confined area landings, according to CAE. Pilots can be added to the training scenarios by coupling the Maverick with a full mission simulator or flight training device. CAE also offers the option of distributed mission operations, where the Maverick can be networked with other training devices for comprehensive and immersive mission training and rehearsal. This is VATSIM brought to commercial aviation, essentially. You know all about VATSIM, don't you, Carlos?
Yeah, I've dabbled in it. I must admit, I've had a little play with VATSIM.
No clue.
It's good fun. It's good fun.
This stuff is the future. This is brilliant.
I'm quite looking forward to the weekend, actually, because I've got I'm staying in Carlos's house next week, and I'm very much looking forward to probably having a go at firing up this sim and having a go at it myself.
Good luck with that, because it's not set up.
Oh, is it not? All right, okay.
So is this where I get a mountain of text messages going, how do you turn the
How do you do this?
How do you do this? How do you do that?
Oh, no, I can easily put together a system that enables us to broadcast live for 4 hours from the middle of a park. That's not a problem. That's easy peasy. But apparently the sim car, the sim thingy will be a step too far for me. So, and he's probably right. Let's be honest.
I've got it off to a tee. I can set it up now. It probably takes me, I don't know, 10 minutes to get everything set up and stuff.
You're quite right. I won't bother.
It is a faff. Yeah. It is a faff. I need to get another room to set the sim up permanently.
Oh yeah, good luck with that. Yeah.
Well, you might as well get the walls and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just not going to happen.
Yeah, just either buy a lot of diamonds or a divorce, one or other.
Well, I've got next week to try that on holiday.
You have, absolutely. Yeah.
This stuff is brilliant for the future.
Oh,
it's
it is, for
it's
training.
easier. There's lots of good uses for it as well, and I think the world of upset recovery training as well is going to head down this road where you can actually. We do upset recovery training in simulators. Captain Nick did a whole set of plane tales on upset recovery training. And the one thing that's missing in simulators is the physiological effects. You don't feel the G or the spin. So you can use a system like this and put it in, the simulators that they have for like Formula One cars and stuff like that. Yeah. And put it on a full rotating axis as well, so you can go upside down, and you can really start to get the feeling of you're in a very nasty place in an aircraft and you need to get out of it. without the cost of taking a aerobatic aircraft up and doing it in that. So it has so many future applications. It's brilliant.
Lovely. So that'll be the next upgrade for your sim then, by the sound of it, Carlos. We better move on with the next story.
Better win the lottery as well.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah.
Let's move on to the next story. And this one comes to us from Reuters.com. And Joby receives FAA nod to start air taxi services commercially. Interesting name. Joby Aviation, yes, you heard me right, Joby, Joby Aviation, said on Thursday this week it had received certification from the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, that would allow it to begin air taxi operations commercially with a conventional airplane. Although the certification gives the necessary clearance and is a significant milestone, the company still has an additional regulatory hurdle to clear before its 5-seater aircraft can legally fly passengers. The FAA's Part 135 Air Carrier Certificate is among the regulatory approvals critical for Joby's planned launch of an all-electric aerial ride-sharing service in 2024. A certification would let Joby operate its electric vertical takeoff and landing, or eVTOL, aircraft as an air taxi service in cities and communities across the United States. The FAA said it's issued Joby the Part 135 certificate on the 19th of May after they completed the 5-phase certification process. Joby has one aircraft on the certificate, a Cirrus SR-22. Joby says it plans to use the conventional aircraft to refine systems and procedures in advance of launching the eVTOL service targeted for 2024. In February, Joby's piloted prototype aircraft met with an accident during a flight test, at its base in California, but no injuries were reported. And it says, John's put a note in here, so it's still a long way to go for this industry to be set up entirely. He's also said that if you want some more snippets of info on this particular kind of flying, check out our UAM discussion with Honeywell on episode 366 of the show with Stefan Feimack.
Is the paint job brown?
No,
I mean, how can you say Joby that much without at least laughing once?
I must admit, it is an interesting name they've chosen.
It's different, I'll give you that. Yeah,
it is. So I had to lower the tone somehow.
Well, quite absolutely. You've done very well so far. I'm quite impressed.
He's not even drinking.
I know. Honestly, the joys of work in the morning, eh?
Yes.
We'll move on to the next story then. Several sources on this one: AIN Online, EASA Europe, and Bishop Stortford Independent. Is the story. The headline is EASA progresses on civil supersonic jet regulations. TLDR, EASA are going to introduce new regulations, mainly in preparation for supersonic transport. The current regulations are going to be amended to set noise limits for SST. What does SST mean?
Supersonic transport.
Oh, I see. Right, yes, fair enough. And then also set initial requirements for COT limits for SST as well. Currently, no ICAO, is it? ICAO, thank you. Standards exist for these two parameters for supersonic transport. They're also going to set speed restrictions to prevent sonic boom over areas of concern like populated areas. While the ban on operations at supersonic speed over land remains in force in several world regions, including the US, restrictions in the EU that were adopted after the Concorde SST was withdrawn from commercial operation, only prohibit. They only prohibit supersonic flights under VFR, Visual Flight Rules. Comments can be made by the public, if you wish, until the 25th of July and August the 25th for those pieces of legislation. Just an aside, an article came out this week on the Bishop Stortford Independent, that's the town next to Stansted Airport, if you're not quite sure where that is, talking about how Ryanair's new MAX aircraft are 40% quieter It's a minus 3.4 dB change, but the logarithmic nature of the dB scale means that equates to 40% less acoustic energy. Anywho, he says, it's not a massive story in and of itself. We all knew that the Max was going to be quieter, but the article even existing in the paper shows just how important noise factor is to people around airports in general. Now, one of the things that is sort of fascinating for me, and it's this same argument, isn't it? It's like where I was before. I ran a pub for many years. It was a pub that had been there since the 16th century, and neighbours would move into those houses and complain because the pub would make noise.
That's because I was doing karaoke there.
Well, quite, yes. And the other thing that used to bother, but it's the same with airports, isn't it? It's like you must know that you're in the flight path of Heathrow, for example. So what? I don't know. I get really frustrated with all this. I understand why there needs to be, some kind of legislation and stuff, but I just get so frustrated with it all. I really do. Never mind. Anyway.
The supersonic transport will be here one day, just not, I don't think, in our...
I got you a lovely book of aeroplanes, Matt. I think I'm going to have to get you a book of acronyms now.
Oh, that would be a brilliant one, Andy.
That would be very useful.
That would... Is there one out there? We have to find a book of aviation acronyms.
With phonetic pronunciations as well.
Yeah.
That's what it needs.
That would be so good.
To be fair, John does a very good job of putting stuff in the notes there that I still can't understand, so I don't think it'll help. As I say, I get that every time the show notes are written, but I still can't read it right. Never mind.
Andy,
can you tell reading was not one of my strong points when I was at school?
No. Okay, so here we go. Regent Craft to design 100-seater sea gliders in partnership with Hawaiian Airlines. Sea gliders. I don't even know what these things are. I'm guessing I'm going to find out. And this is in flyandmag.com. Regent Craft said it has entered an investment agreement with Hawaiian Airlines that will help support the design of Regent's Monarch, a 100-passenger electric-powered sea glider. The Boston-based company plans to have ready for commercial service by 2028. Sea gliders are boat aircraft hybrids in a category of vehicles sometimes known by the acronym WIG for Wing in Ground Effect. They fly at low altitudes over water to take advantage of the cushion of air between the wing and water that helps keep the craft airborne using less power than would be required to fly at higher altitudes like an aeroplane. Isn't this one of those... Didn't the Russians make these big ones of these? Many pilots are familiar with ground effect, which causes aircraft to float down the runway, seemingly refusing to touch down when landing with excess airspeed. Regent Sea Glider designers operate like boats when leaving the harbour and use hydrofoils to lift the hull out of the water as it accelerates. The foil retracts once the vehicle is flying in ground effect. Both the Regent and Hawaii Airlines have said sea gliders are especially well suited to the airline's island hopping operations. Designed for coastal routes, sea gliders would compete with ferry boats and commuter seaplane operators. Regent also announced earlier this year to build 200 smaller sea gliders, doesn't say how many seats, for Mesa Airlines. Well, this sounds quite fun.
Absolutely. It's I love the idea of it. It's
Dr. Steph's got her seaplane rating as well, actually, isn't she?
Oh, yeah,
right. I'm pretty sure. My jet doesn't. I know that doesn't surprise you at all, Matt.
Well, I'd be more surprised if Armando didn't have one in some form or another.
Oh, blimey! Yeah, we'll just get the book out for Armando and just go through the ones that he has.
It's a pretty looking thing, though. Look. It is lovely. As I say, again, if you're listening to the audio version of this, then if you look at the show notes, there'll be a link to this story, so you can take a look at the picture as well. But it's a very sort of space agey looking aircraft. I think it's got a real modern feel to it.
How do you fly these in rough sea? How strong is that fuselage or hull?
Exactly.
In rough conditions, can it work? Who knows?
Well, they'll have to design it so that it's got a normal landing gear. So at least if the weather is poor, it could land on land if it needed to.
Depends if those if it's electric powered, isn't it? If the engines have the oomph to get it up to altitude to actually fly somewhere, though, because it's designed to sit in ground effect.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Interesting to see how they get on. Probably a load of money wasted again, but that's just me being a pessimist.
Our main man, Uncle Micah, in the chat room is just saying that it's already been demonstrated to be terribly unsuccessful.
Throw a few more million at it.
Yeah, what's a few $1 million, honestly?
Yes, but come on, guys, you're being really, really cynical here. I mean, there has to be failure before you find success. You know,
well,
you've got to practice.
It's going to be a failure,
right? No, I know. Come on, you've got to have a go at these things. Otherwise, you're going to end up. Oh, honestly, I give up.
I'm sure it has already been tried.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
So Matt's got the next story, and we're all hungry for this one.
Yes, absolutely. I do love it where John's put the headline in here. It just says food. He knows, he's a man who knows me too well, clearly. The Future Travel Experience.com is the website. And the headline is food, as I say. Business class passengers on long-haul flights with Swiss International Airlines can now pre-order their in-flight meal online free of charge ahead of their departure. In addition to the main dishes featured under the carrier's Swiss Taste of Switzerland program, customers have 4 further meals to choose from on long-haul flights from Switzerland. The orders can be placed up to 36 hours before the flight's scheduled departure. Swiss's long-haul business class guests can choose from a wide range and varied selection of 8 main in-flight meals. 3 of the options draw their inspiration from Swiss cuisine. Azuri Galash.
Geschnetzel.
Why not? Yeah, let's go with that.
Schnetzels.
Yeah, sliced veal in cream sauce.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it does sound lovely, actually. Yeah, absolutely. Meatloaf with morel sauce and perch fillets. With lemon butter. I've not heard that before. I've caught perch before, but I've never eaten it. The 4th is a red vegetable curry with basmati rice from Zurich's Hiltels vegetarian restaurant, Swiss's long-standing culinary partner. The current Swiss Taste of Switzerland menu offers a main meal selection of beef tenderloin with peppercorn sauce, herb stuffed chicken, pike perch fillet with lemon beurre blanc, or the vegetarian option of Singapore noodles with vegetables, which also comes from Hiltel as well, the world's oldest vegetarian restaurant. Swiss guests in all classes of travel can still pre-order special meals depending on the flight, such as kosher or gluten-free options. Such meals can be ordered free of charge, either when booking the flight or later on at a service centre. I mean, it's a great story, isn't it? I'm loving the look of this. It's
lovely sound. I mean, for business class, I mean, that's, does sound really nice.
It does.
I'd struggle to choose, to be honest.
Absolutely. Some great options there. I'm really liking the one that I was struggling with, the description.
The sliced veal in cream sauce.
Yeah, that sounds
that is delicious. You would like that, Matt.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, I think Dirk knows all about that in the chat room. He's
does he?
Yeah. Yeah, Dirk knows what they are.
Okay, very good. All right.
I love the sound of the beef tenderloin with peppercorn sauce. Oh my word!
And producer John has just texted me to say, "Ha ha."
Oh, he's still awake.
Yeah, ha ha. Serves you right. You should have read the show notes like I told you to. So that is it's kind of my own fault, isn't it? Really, never mind. There we go.
Kind of a far cry from the packet of crackers in a plastic try. And
well, that is true.
Yeah. Not all airlines like that, I will say. There are some very nice meals in economy in some.
Yeah, there are actually. Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody's got to eat them, I suppose.
Oh, nothing wrong. I know you get the posh meals where you sit, Andy. Honestly.
Quite right. Absolutely.
Andy goes beyond seat 1A. Andy's
absolutely.
Sort of minus 1A.
He always turns left. That's the important thing.
He does. Yeah, you do, Andy. Yeah, always turn left.
Come on then, next story, Carlos.
Anyway, this one comes to us from Euronews.com. 103-year-old Swedish woman sets record for the world's oldest, come on, Matt, here's one for you, parachuter.
Oh.
If she can do it, well, anyway, I'll let the chat room continue that discussion. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's an 103-year-old Rut Larsen. The Swedish daredevil has set the world record for the oldest person to complete a tandem parachute jump. Larsen completed her jump harnessed to a parachutist, Joachim Johansson, in Motala, Sweden. It was wonderful to do this, she said. I've been thinking about it for a long time, she explained. With her family and friends waiting on the airfield below, Larsen sailed down smoothly before helpers rushed to pick her up with her walker. Nowadays, she said, I don't see too well, but it felt good, she said, when asked what she saw during her jump. An official from the Guinness World Records was on hand to record the jump. And Larsen, who is 103 years young and 259 days old, beat the previous record holder, Alfred Al-Bashk, who completed the jump at 103 years and 181 days. There was also an American woman who beat the record, so I had to beat her, says Larsen, who may have a little bit of cake to celebrate her achievement.
Love it. I love
I'd
it.
like to have seen the risk assessment for this.
I dare say there were several waivers signed on that particular experience.
Captain Ridiculous Wits in the chat room is saying, that'll be Steph in the year 2070.
Wow. Okay.
And Dirk S is saying in the chat room, maybe it helps when you don't see where you're going.
I mean,
that's what we need to do, Matt. All we need to do is blindfold you and throw you out of a Cessna Caravan.
What a wonderful weekend that sounds like. What you two
Matt's
get
gone
up to.
quiet. He's gone quiet.
Have you two
You can
finished?
see him. He's
Have you
pondering.
two
He's
finished?
going, should I really do this?
No, I don't care what anyone says. The only way you're going to get me in that scenario is if you do, if you do the BA thing. Essentially, that's the only way you're going to get me in an aircraft and do that to me. And there are rules in this country now about doing that to a person. So,
Would you like a glass of milk, Matt?
No, I wouldn't. You're absolutely not.
Or should I say BA?
What?
Yeah, well. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you did,
Mr.
there.
Baracus.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Well, you know. Well, hold on, Matt. What if I said to you, I'd give you £1 million if you jumped out of that aircraft?
I'd be asking where you're getting the £1 million from.
Yeah, I was going to say this is the first thing.
Well, you know, I've just won 150 on the Euros.
Right. Okay.
I've got an odd million laying around.
Then, in which case, my answer would be: is that really all you're giving me? You tight what's it?
You heard it here first.
Absolutely.
You, PTUK family.
Absolutely not happening.
Matt would not
also,
accept £1 million.
I know your wife very well. She'll have many questions about where you got the money from as well. So it's just like, yeah. And why wasn't the first thing you went and bought diamonds? That's the other.
The room would be filled with. It would have an actual aircraft.
No. You'd have your own house. You know,
with an aircraft,
with you'll have a hangar and all sorts.
We're trying.
Katie from the radio station is saying Parky Bear will help you, Matt. No, they absolutely won't. That's outrageous.
Matt.
Yes, what?
Tell you what we should do.
Oh, yeah.
We should get Parky Bear to jump out of a plane.
Oh, yes, actually, that doesn't involve me. Yes, let's do
that.
That's
a good idea, isn't it?
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Yeah, I suspect I've got a sneaky suspicion that Parky Bear has already done that. But anyway, there we go. Come on, we need to move on.
I know. Anyway, that is where we bring the commercial news to a close this week. Unfortunately, this week I was again too busy to do the Caption This competition on the show. I know, honestly, it has been, and Matt knows it's been a very busy week for me this week, and I haven't been on top form in health wise this week either.
No,
as you can probably tell by my slightly raspy voice every now and again.
Yeah, I haven't got what Carlos has had. It's just I've had a very busy few days. That's all.
Yes, it's been a busy old week this week for all of us. Apart from Andy, we have got some military news for Mr. Warner.
Oh, he will be delighted.
If you would like to press the said button, Matt.
Indeed, and we're making up for last week. By the way, I'm just putting that out there as well. Yeah.
What's up, Bogies 135, 50, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 100 St. Bogies.
Laughing to myself here at the comment Richard Adams put in the chat room, said, what is the coffee fund for? Yes, anyway. Moving swiftly on. Parachute jumps at BAe. This first news story comes from the diplomat.com, and Japan to co-develop future fighter FX with the UK. The Japanese government is considering choosing British aerospace and defence contractor BAe Systems to support prime contractor Mitsubishi Heavy Industries in developing the FX next generation fighter aircraft for the Japan Air Self-Defense Force, or the JASDF. Informed sources have said the move comes as a surprise to many because Japan's Ministry of Defense already had selected the US company Lockheed Martin as the only possible main partner for the FX development project back in 2020. And at that time, the ministry said Lockheed Martin was selected as FX integration support company candidate because it was considerably experienced in developing fifth generation fighters, as in the F-22 and the F-35, compared with other two candidates, BAe Systems and Boeing. In addition, considering the strengthening of Japan's US alliance in the post-war period, it's extremely rare for Tokyo to look to Britain rather than the United States for a major defense project. The FX program is one of the largest national projects in decades, with the total project cost expected to amount to more than 1 trillion Japanese yen, or 7.7 billion US dollars. So what's behind this unusual case? Lockheed Martin was not so enthusiastic about developing Japan's next generation fighter. A ruling Liberal Democratic Party lawmaker who is a defense policy wonk said, speaking to condition of anonymity, moreover, for the US, the timing of the development of Japan's next fighter is off because the US has already developed the F-35s, the lawmaker said, adding this seems to be the biggest reason for Lockheed Martin's enthusiastic attitude. Instead, the US Air Force is pushing ahead with its ambitious next generation air dominance, or the Future Fighter program. This sixth generator fighter aircraft is expected to replace the service's Lockheed Martin's F-22 Raptor fleet starting in the 2030s. A full-scale demonstrator already flew for the first time in 2020. Meanwhile, UK-led Tempest, which is being developed under the Future Combat Air System program, or FCAS, and the Japanese FX program have similar timelines, being slated to enter operational service from the mid-2030s. That enables the UK and Japan to pursue joint technologies for their fighters, and Japan and the UK have already decided to collaborate on engine parts and sensor technology for both the Tempest and Future X Future Combat aircraft programs. Yeah, I find it kind of funny that we would help Japan to develop a sixth generation fighter jet, but I don't know.
Well, it's spread costs,
all
isn't
one happy world, aren't we now? Ish.
Those are the rumours.
No.
If you spread the costs between the two nations, then it sort of makes a bit more sense, really.
A bit cheaper, yeah. The grey paint works out a bit cheaper in that sense as well.
That's true.
So the next story in the military segment this week comes to us from Armando.
The second military story, thanks Carlos for the first one, comes to us from defensenews.com. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's maybe related to Top Gun Maverick. I don't know. Not everybody's seen it yet, so I don't know that we're ready to talk about it. But this, from Defense News, the Air Force's secretive and highly classified next-generation air dominance fighter has started its crucial engineering and manufacturing development phase, according to Secretary Frank Kendall. They said in a discussion at the Heritage Foundation that the Air Force began early experimental prototyping on this NGAD, I think they're calling it NGAD, the Next Generation Air Dominance Fighter, in 2015 when he was the Pentagon's top acquisitions official. This was essentially an X-plane program, not the video game, not the simulator, but the actual X-plane designation. He said that they did that in order to reduce risk and develop key technologies needed for the production program. As the technology continued to progress, he said that the NGAD effort is now envisioned as a family of systems incorporating several elements, including a handful of autonomous drone aircraft accompanying the manned aircraft in formation. Now, it typically takes the Air Force's acquisitions programs almost 7 years to reach initial operating capability from the beginning to this phase. Although the service has already been working on this airplane for about that long, about 7 years, because it just recently started work on this new next phase, the EMD phase. It will still be a few more years before the program will reach its initial operating capability. The Secretary of the Air Force said the clock didn't really start in 2015. It's starting roughly now, and he thinks that we'll have capability by the end of the decade. Now, the NGAD could also be the most expensive aircraft program in history. Secretary Kendall told lawmakers in April that each piloted aircraft under the program would likely cost several $100 million each. The Air Force asked Congress for almost $1.7 billion for the NGAD in its fiscal year 2023 budget, including $133 million in research, development, testing, and evaluation funding. Now, Secretary Kendall also indicated in his remarks this week that he wants the Air Force's acquisition programs to move more quickly to production. Too often, he said that it takes too many years to get to that stage, and he's instructed the Air Force to set up programs in a way to get meaningful capabilities to airmen as soon as possible. Now, in a related story, this article published on May 20th, 2022 by the Air Force magazine revealed for the first time that the first B-21 Raider bomber will not take to the air until 2023. Now, citing an unnamed U.S. Air Force spokeswoman, the report said that the U.S. Air Force is now projecting the first flight of its new stealth bomber 6 months later than initially expected. In 2021, Randall Walden, the director of the Air Force Rapid Capabilities Office, said that a first flight in mid-22 was, quote, a good bet. Back then, a second B-21 Raider was under construction at Northrop Grumman's facility out in Plant 42 in Palmdale, California. As of February 2022, at least six examples of the B-21 were under construction at Plant 42. Now, Mr. Walden also said in a statement, the B-21 test aircraft is the most production representative aircraft, both structurally and in its mission systems, and at this point in a program that he's observed in his career. With the first aircraft in the ground test phase and successful loads calibrations under its belt, Northrop Grumman is paving the way for the B-21 rollout later this year and the first flight in 2023. So let's keep an eye on both of these aircraft, one of which may have been featured in Top Gun Maverick or something like it.
It's an absolutely fascinating picture. I'm just going to pop the picture up, actually, of the aircraft that Armando was talking about there. I mean, again, it's another sort of very space-agey looking picture, isn't it? I don't know. They just look so fancy.
So someone's chopped the tail fins off.
Right. Okay. Trust you to find.
No, it does so.
I'm sure they know what they're doing. I'm sure they.
Where's the rudder control? Even Andy, you must agree with me here. Where's the rudder control?
All done through computers.
Yeah, good old computers, eh?
Flapper on. They've got a name, haven't they? Avons, flapperons,
bits.
Yeah. I mean that wouldn't fly without the computers, which is why technology is amazing.
As it is.
Yeah, mind you, there are many who say that about the Airbus, but
no way.
Anyway,
it was a cheap shot. Sorry, it was
swiftly on. This next story comes to us for you, Andy, and we're moving to India for this one.
Yeah, so this comes from businessworld.in. India cuts back world's largest fighter jet procurement program by half. And my computer screen just dropped to the bottom. Hang on, there we go. The Indian Air Force, IAF, is cutting down its largest fighter jet procurement program by half and has indicated the likelihood of a change in the procurement model to one which is more acceptable to foreign suppliers for compliance to Made in India requirements in view of the reduced numbers. That doesn't make much sense, but we'll carry on.
It's the military. It never makes sense.
BW Business World has learned from highly placed sources that the estimated $20 billion multi-role fighter aircraft procurement program for 114 foreign jets has been shrunk to the acquisition of just 57 jets through a global competition. The original proposal to make these jets in India under the ambitious strategic partnership model is set to be dumped and shrunken, and the shrunken program is likely to be rebooted under the Buy Global Made in India category of the Defence Acquisition Procedure 2020, sources elaborated. All the 57 fighters will be made in India with transfer of technology from the foreign manufacturer to an Indian company. The cutback is mainly on account of the government's policy directive to minimise defence imports and build up a domestic defence industrial complex instead to meet military requirements. A renewed drive is afoot to commit most of the capital budget for defence modernisation to domestic sources. Even the Indian Navy requirement for imported deck-borne fighters was reduced from 57 to 26. The cutback on the MRFA and the Navy fighters is both an opportunity and challenge for domestic industries to make up the numbers. The timeline for issuance of a global tender for acquisition of 57 jets is the end of 2022. The Indian Air Force has approached the global market with a request for information for 114 fighters in 2018. Responses were received by Air Headquarters on behalf of Lockheed Martin's F-21, Boeing's F-15EX, F-18 Super Hornet, Dassault's Rafale, Saab's Griffin, and the European consortium's Eurofighter, Sukhoi's S-35, and MiG's MiG-35. India's record of procurement of a foreign fighter through global competition is tortuous. The MRFA's predecessor, the Medium Multi-Role Combat Aircraft Program for 126 fighters, was aborted after a decade-long procurement process, ended up with Dassault's Rafale as the winner, but failed to secure a contractual agreement. In 2016, India went in for a direct purchase of 36 Rafale fighters as an emergency procurement in a government-to-government deal with France. The IAF's anxiety to ensure minimum force levels is also on account of the impending retirement of its legacy jets, comprising the Mirage 2000, MiG-29, and the Jaguar fleets, over the next decade. The residual squadrons of the MiG-21 will also be out by 2024. That was a mouthful.
That was a mouthful. You done well, though.
Yeah. It just seems strange to me that they desperately want to build all these in India and want other countries to give up all of their technology secrets. They can do that. That seems like something doomed to fail.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of interest in it. Perhaps I'm being unnecessarily cynical. I'm famous for being that.
Tell you what, considering how the global economy is quite is a bit sort of shot to Sierra Hotel India Tango.
Moving on, yes.
It's surprising how much all this is going. Build, make, design, new this, build, new this. Make, design, and produce this. There must be some big pool of money somewhere that someone hasn't told us about within the aviation industry.
That magic money tree.
Yeah.
How does one get a pass for that again? Sorry.
Oh, you have to pay us £2 a week, Matt.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah, you need 6 numbers.
Oh, I see. I see.
Preferably ones that match up with the.
Well, yes, that would help. Yes, absolutely. Anyway,
this next story is coming to us from Armando again. It's all about. This is amazing. This is all about a KC-130 in a farmer's field.
Oh dear.
This next military story comes to us from the aviationist.com. The pilot who landed a KC-130J in a farmer's field after a mid-air collision with an F-35 has received the Distinguished Flying Cross. Now, this KC-130J pilot was awarded this decoration, which is the highest award in flying and the fourth highest award for bravery, awarded for heroism or extraordinary achievement while participating in aerial flight. Now, on September 29, 2020, and we actually talked about this on the show, a U.S. Marine Corps F-35B and a KC-130J Super Hercules tanker collided during air-to-air refueling operations. The F-35 pilot successfully ejected from the Lightning II. There is a video of the jet crashing near Coachella Valley in California, while the KC-130J pilot managed to perform a safe crash landing on a field near the Thermal Airport in California. The latter belonging to Marine Aerial Refueler Transport Squadron 352, the Raiders, was flying as Raider 50 at the time, and it was involved in a refueling mission with the F-35 call sign Volt 93. That aircraft was from Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 121, the Green Knights. They were taking part in Weapons and Tactics Instructor Training Course 1-21. That's a 7-week training event that aims at improving operational integration of Marine Corps aviation in support of a ground task force. The KC-130J pilot was able to carry out a successful crash landing despite extensive damage to the engines on the right wing and the refueling pod, saving the life of all the crew members who assisted him during the emergency. And as we know, this does become a crew emergency at that point where everybody pitches in and has a crucial role. For his life-saving actions, that pilot, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania native Captain Michael Wolf, received the Distinguished Flying Cross from Major General Bradford Goering, the 3rd Marine Air Wing Commanding General. That is all according to a U.S. Marine Corps official statement. Now, there was some pretty intense audio of this incident posted on liveatc.com. Well done to this pilot. I've been part of military aviation for so long that we always practiced emergencies, and we practiced so many individual emergencies, but compounding emergencies like happened with this KC-130J took the entire crew to come together and get that airplane safely on the ground. And as Matt probably showed in the pictures there, by all accounts, it was a pretty good landing in a farmer's field. So well deserved, and you can rest assured that the rest of the crew probably received some additional recognition also, in addition to just the pilot. So well done to these Marine Corps aircrew.
Incredible stuff, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. And it goes to show the training, doesn't it? Their ability to a huge aircraft like that to sort of put down in a field. I mean, it is. I guess this in your world as well, though, Andy. To be fair, I mean, I guess this is something that could be equally possible if necessary.
Yeah, there was that airline from Russia, or was it Ukraine? Last year, the year before, put it down in a field, an A320. But the skill involved is just phenomenal. They did a brilliant job, and it just shows how much that thing is built like a tank as well.
Well, yeah, literally. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a
robust.
Dependable. Yes, robust. That's the word. It's a very dependable airframe.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I'm glad everybody got out of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great news.
It's one of those. It's one of those things, and Andy will know. It's one of those first things that you're taught when you start your PPL, you're flying, is when you take off from your airfield that you're flying from, is if the engine fails just after you take off, where are you going to put it down? So you're always looking, scanning around as to where's the best field that's not got power lines going across it, or where's a ploughed field, or where's not a ploughed field, or where's the ditches and stuff. And you have to make that decision. You've got to make that decision in seconds, really, when that in the situation.
It's a very quick decision you've got to make in a light single engine aircraft. And the fortunate thing in those is you don't need much room to put it down in. Whereas these guys have been lucky to have a nice bit, lucky is the wrong word, the right place, right time, to have a nice expanse to put it down in.
And of course, one of the things I'm frantically just continue talking amongst yourselves for a second, because this is why I love this show. Mr. Warner is watching while this, and this very aircraft that we're just looking at pictures of that have been put down.
Don't tell me he's already snapped it.
Well, no, he's literally. I'm just trying to see if it's
it already. Hasn't
yeah,
he?
no, well, no. This is. Hang on. What's the timestamp? Hang on, I'm struggling here. Sorry. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Was,
Can you remember? Can you remember your very first kind of PPL training when you started, Andy?
Me, yes. A long time ago, back
Here you
in
go,
New
sorry.
Zealand.
There you
What
go.
was that?
Look at
Was
that.
150.
So this is the very aircraft that
Hang on.
this is the amazing thing with Mr. Waddle. This is the very aircraft that we're talking about in that story that's just been ditched in a field. And his exact words: "It was a dodgy iPhone shot, but I saw this exact C-130 a few weeks before the incident." How amazing is that?
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, love that. There we go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
was it a 150 you started in or low wing?
Low wing, it was a Robin.
Oh, Robin.
And then they started to give us all carbon monoxide poisoning. So just before, I had 1 hour in a 172 before I had to sit my PPL exam in it.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough.
It's all right, I passed.
I don't doubt you did either. You know? Look at the lofty heights you're at now, Andy.
Well, yeah,
I'm here.
Exactly.
indeed.
So the next story in the list here, this is from the aviationist.com. And liked Top Gun Maverick, get ready for Devotion, a new film showcasing Korean air war heroism. So Devotion tells a true story of a remarkable fighter pilot rescue from the forgotten war. The story behind the best-selling book by Adam Makos, Devotion, is nearly as remarkable as the story Makos tells in the book itself, and now is on the heels of the successful release of Top Gun Maverick. Sony Pictures is hyping the upcoming release of a major studio production adapted from Mark Makos' book Devotion. But Mako's story has a big hill to climb compared to the built-in appeal of the sequel momentum in Top Gun Maverick. The question is, will Devotion pack theatres the way Maverick did? The answer may be interesting. I can see Jonathan Warner's already getting excited now. Devotion is based on a fact story of the dramatic rescue attempt of Ensign Jesse Leroy Brown, a U.S. Navy F-4U Corsair pilot from the then VF-32, flying from the aircraft carrier USS Light. I think it's late. Is it late? That's pronounced USS Late. So if I've pronounced that incorrectly, our US listeners, I do apologize. Or registration CB-32 during the Korean conflict back in 1950. After 20 successful combat missions over Korea, Ensign Brown was shot down on December the 4th, 1950. Although Brown didn't survive the ordeal, his wingman, U.S. Navy Captain Thomas Jerome Houdner Jr., crash-landed his own F-4U Corsair in an attempt to rescue Ensign Brown. Captain Houdner was eventually awarded the Medal of Honor, the U.S. military's highest award for valor, for his attempt to rescue Ensign Brown. Makos authored the 2017 book Devotion, an epic story of heroism, friendship, and sacrifice. The book then went on to become a significant hit, climbing to a popular literary bestseller list and earning a remarkable 1,613 five-star ratings on Amazon. His 2012 book, A Higher Call, showcased the remarkable story of World War II German fighter pilot Franz Steigler, who intercepted a heavily damaged U.S. Air Force B-17 bomber over Europe and escorted the wounded crew back to safety. The book's artwork, their stories inspired, and now the upcoming release of the film Devotion have propelled Makos into mainstream media. Also a reminder as well that the Air Force Museum is premiering the D-Day Squadron documentary Into Flight One More on Saturday, the 4th of June, 2022 at the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force.
No, we ran the trailer for that last week, didn't we? But
We did, yeah.
should we have a look at the trailer? Should we see what it's like?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Yeah, okay, here we go.
You ain't never landing that plane. You ain't shit. You shouldn't even be flying.
It's good to know the men you're flying with. See what they're fighting for.
What are you fighting for?
Hoping to find that out.
Try to keep up.
This is war. And we're up.
Can't tell you how many times people have told me to give up and quit, die even. That's why you can't always do what you're told. If I did, I wouldn't be here.
Some great camera work in there, I must admit. I hope it gets the same sort of attention. It really does deserve it.
I know what I'll be doing in October.
Quite, absolutely. It looks amazing.
Does
Love
look
it.
good.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love a historical one as well. I must admit, I find that more, for me, that's more appealing than anything else, really. I mean, I love things like Dunkirk and that as well. They're all great.
Oh, yeah.
all great films.
Film.
They are.
Yeah.
There we are. Anyway, that's everything.
Yeah, that's the military news segment done for this week. Just going to quickly run through the social medias, just for in case you don't know where we are. Well, you obviously know where we are because you're all watching us on YouTube, but just in case, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search our social media platforms for Plain Talking UK. Don't forget the WhatsApp number +44 757 22 If you want to send us any feedback, you can send it to us via our WhatsApp number, or you can send us an email to the team. That's podcast@plaintalkinguk.com if you want to send us an email. Also, check out the website, allthews.plaintalkinguk.com is our website. On there, you'll find links to our shop where you can treat yourselves to a very special and snazzy shirt, t-shirt, or a mug on there as well, a tea or coffee mug or whatever you wish to put in that mug. And we have some very special news coming up on a certain mug next week's show, so keep tuned for that one.
I need to talk about Nev like that.
It's Nev's very excited about announcing it. So
if you're watching the YouTube feed right now, you're going to get a 1 second flash of what might or may not be up our sleeve.
Yeah, just a quick flash.
There you go.
Just
That's it.
One.
Yeah.
Quick one.
There it was, gone.
There we go.
Flashing, you two talking about blindfold me. I'm not going to come on this show again.
Also, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notifications when we go live on the show, so you can help shape the conversation in the chat room with our family members in there. And because the chat room is what makes the show on YouTube a awesome enjoyment for all of us hosts on there. And don't forget, also on the website, you'll find links to Amazon. If you want to do your shopping via Amazon, the links are on there to do your shopping. Doesn't cost you a penny, but it does help us in a little way with referral. And also the links are on there to become a PayPal and Patreon donator to the show. If you have a few spare shekels laying behind the sofa, he says, as a motorbike goes past. God, how loud was that? Honestly. And yes, all the social medias on stuff on there. And Andy, our guest, going to say thanks to you. If our audience would love to find out where you are, is there anywhere that they can go to find out more about you, Andy?
Generally in the pub, but
Okay.
I mean, you can follow me on Twitter. Do you know what? I don't actually know what my Twitter handle is.
Oh.
That's bad, isn't it?
That is, yeah.
It shows how terrible I am with social
media. If you want to get a hold of, I think what we'll do is we'll say, if you want to get hold of Andy, pop us an email, podcast@bladetalkinguk.com, and we'll find him for you. That's probably the best way to do that.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll act as your go-between for you.
You're not going to charge me for that, are you?
No. Yeah. It's your fee for coming on the show. There we are. That's
fair
sweet.
Fair enough.
Now,
Brilliant.
next week I won't be here
Outrageous.
on the show because I will be in some valley in Devon where there is absolutely zero phone reception on both networks, considering I have 2 SIM cards.
I think your wife has done this on purpose. I'm not going to lie.
And the Wi-Fi, I'm going to just take a wild stab in the dark here and guess that the Wi-Fi where we're staying is going to be like 0.1 of a meg down and probably an eighth of a quid up. So
okay.
Yeah. But I'm sure Matt, Nev, and Armando will keep you very entertained.
We'll do our level best.
So we're going to say a big thanks to all the YouTube chat room for joining us this evening, and thanks to all our audio downloaders of the show. Quick round robin before we finish and wrap up the show this week. We'll start off with our guest Andy. Andy, what are you up to next week?
Flying all weekend and then at home all next week, which is nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
I've got a few office days, so I've got to sit at home, and I've got a few training videos to edit and a few other jobs to do for work.
I can say when you say office, do you mean chores that's been set by the wife?
No, actual work office days.
Okay, all right, okay, fair enough.
It's part of my standards job.
Sorry, my apologies. I thought it was code for something.
Yeah, no. Surprisingly, I do work in standards in the airline I work for, which is
very, very important. Absolutely. Yeah. What are you up to, Carlos? Anything fun?
I'm in
Holiday.
Devon.
Yeah, lovely. Okay,
I'm in Devon in Cornwall.
So yes,
and Matt will be here.
Yes, absolutely.
In here.
Although, ironically, I have to come to the studio in order to do the show. So, so I'll be in my usual place next week. But anyway, that's it, guys.
Right, that's it then, guys and girls. Big thanks to everyone again for joining us. Thanks to Andy for joining us tonight.
Yeah,
Big
cheers,
round of applause
Andy.
to you. Cheers.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a safe flight tomorrow and enjoy yourself.
Cheers, thank you.
And from me, Carlos, here at home in the home studio, from Matt in the PTUK Master Suite studios, and from Andy in his luxurious studios here in the UK. Take care, everyone, and see you next week. Well, I won't, but see you next week. Bye.
Bye.